Good day everyone and welcome to this update to the Eevee Toon shaders. Now this is not going to be a very long video, as you can see. I'm just going to show you what is new about these and of course send you to the description to get the downloads and see the previous video, etc. Because this is going to build on that one. So let's get into it. So as you can see over here we have the same blend point lamp monkey that we've had before. Except that the specularity is a little bit softer. That is because I added sharpness controls to the usual shaders. Of course, everything else works exactly the same, but it did require a little bit of a reworking of the UI. Basically, all I did was just move the mix node for the color to the right, to the left, the right. And added the sharpness control under it. It's just to make sure that everything is not like this super long shopping list of features. It just makes it a little bit more easy to digest, if you will. So let's talk about the sharpness feature. I'm going to use the specularity because it generally just it shows better. I'm going to show you both, but I'm going to focus on the specularity. Now you can see that it's set to a very low value, and if you've seen over here, you can see this is set as at a very high value. Now the reason for this is because it kind of slopes the value for the sharpness. It slopes in brightness. Your main differences are going to be between 0 and 1, meaning that to get that really sharp cell shading or toon shading, however you want to call it, you're going to have to go for a super high value like 100, 200, 500, 800, depending on how much you zoom into it. But to get it soft, you're going to have to go for something like 0.330. And it's a little bit funny, but that's the way the math works at this point. I don't know how to kind of invert that curve. I don't think invert's the right word. To kind of counteract it so that it's more linear. But this is what we got to work with. So what you can see here is when I increase the value, it gets sharp rather quickly, but even if I go up to, let's say, 10, you can see that it looks crisp. But if I zoom in, look at that. This is why I say you have to go for like a truly ridiculously high value to get it sharp. I mean, look even at 100. If you zoom in, you can see that there's still a little bit of a fuzziness. So if you have a really rounded area that the specularity is pulled over, it might actually still show if you go for only 100. That's why I said that your main difference is going to be between 0 and 1, and obviously a little bit above that to get it nice and sharp. And of course you can invert it. I love this inversion effect. It can be very useful for, you know, like a shocked expression. It's like, yeah, like I love it, and it works for the diffuse as well. So I'm just going to put this back on 0.330. So for the diffuse, it obviously controls the diffuse shading. Duh. There are no controls for the shadow itself except on the lamp, which is a little bit of a downer, I guess. But this is not coded, and there is no, at least not that I'm aware of, node that really controls how an object receives shadows. So it's just one of those things. So sharpness for the diffuse, let's go for the same value. You can see it's nice and soft. It gives us a really, it's not realistic. It's realistic in the sense of a painting's realism. You know, when you learn how to do fuzziness in painting and whatever, it's fairly inaccurate, like this is. It just really looks great, and I love this inversion effect as well. It's also, again, that shock effect, you know. It's like having photo negative without having photo negative. Anyway, that's really cool. That's the only feature that has been added to the normal shaders. So let's get into the Anisotropic Shaders. Now, immediately you might be thinking, but this looks way too realistic. And I would initially agree with you on that, but this is not based on realism, because this is actually very inaccurate as it relates to anisotropic shading. So don't expect it to respond perfectly like real anisotropic shading would. I put a link on the documentation page to the actual equation for brushed metal or whatever, and it's not pretty. It's not practical in any sense of the word to try to build it with nodes. It has to be coded. There are links to Python scripts that have anisotropic shading, but again, I don't know if it's geared to toon shading. I don't think it is. I didn't read up on it entirely because I was just building this stuff. So let's get into the features of it, but I actually want to show you guys something first. You can see that this looks very realistic-ish. So if you wanted to get that real result, all you needed to, the toon result, all you need to do is just remove the normal mapping. And there you have it. See? Now you have a more toony feel to it. Now, of course, my diffuse is a little soft at this point, but I'm going to show you how to deal with that. Now you can see that this is not accurate. It's fairly close, but it's not. If you're going to try and put this on a pot and move the pot around and all that kind of stuff, you're going to see very quickly that this is not intended to be super real. It's just to get that, that kind of spot spin effect that you would get from brushed metal. So just want to put this back for a second. No, let's just keep it off. I just want to keep it off and sharpen up the. Hold on. There we go. And sharpen up the diffuse. So I'm going to put it on like 360. You can see that it's nice and crisp. Now, of course, my lamp shadows are a little bit soft here on the edges for some reason, but that's not anything I can do something about. So you can see it's nice and it has this weird, it's kind of like a pewter. Love that. Like the Fong Sun lamp and point lamp, this does have a diffuse masking feature that you can see over here. You can see it kind of just wipes it out over there. That you can find under the anisotropic settings. It's exactly the same as the Fong shaders masking works. It also has a sharpness control. So let's say we want to make it like super sharp. You can go for like, okay, no, this one works in the reverse for some reason. This one you have to make like really small to get it sharp. So let's make it like, no, 0 is too small. There we go. Then you have it nice and sharp. You can also see that it does affect the brightness of it. Which I also added a control for. Now, the one that you're currently seeing is boosted. I added an emission boost over here for the anisotropic look of it, because generally it's highly reflective. It has a much stronger brightness than the rest of the metal does. Generally, not always, generally. So to compensate for the fact that the shader generally does not, I added an emission boost so you can ramp it up. So I'm just going to make it nice and, oh goodness, hold on. I hate that. If you don't keep tabs on it, that's what happens. I just want to soften it up again. It was on like 23 or something. And you can see we have that nice soft look again. So of course, because this is a form of specularity, you do still have a size control, but the size control here is extremely sensitive. I did try to, make it less sensitive, just reduce that sensitivity. But generally, it's still quite sensitive. So when you adjust it, just hold Shift down and drag the mouse through your values so you can see it like this. So I'm just going to leave it on 0 because that's like the ideal strength for it. You can see that before I did anything else in terms of controlling its size, I did these two color ramps. The reason I added these color ramps is because they give us a very nice balance to get this soft burst line kind of effect, as it relates to this sharp one over here. Now you can make it all sharp, but if you do, the lines kind of appear or disappear. They're either there or they're not. And that just kind of breaks the effect that this is like a brushed metal. At least it does to me. If you want to change that, all you need to do is just work with this value over here to get sharper lines like that. You see what I mean by they just kind of are there or they're not. I don't like that. I prefer them to have a little bit of a softness to it, but as you can see, this is clearly an option. Anyway, I don't use it that way, but if you want to find it in the map, it's right over there. So anyway, you can move this around, as you can see. Now this is where the inaccuracy comes in. Look at how the point moves on the Suzanne itself. You wouldn't find that with regular anisotropic shading because the brushed feel of the metal doesn't move. I did, however, add an empty to be able to animate the location of the point. So if you want to attempt to keep it in the exact same spot using keyframes, you are more than welcome to give that a shot. It does, however, make it a little bit different from adding the other shaders, but if you stick to adding all your objects and you just reparent this empty, you're good if you want to use the anisotropic shader. And that's it for this update. Very thankful God helped me put this together. Hope this is useful. Downloads in the description. Have a great one and God bless you.